So can you state your first name?
Catherine,
And how long have you lived in a community?
for 60 entire years, my entire life.
Can you share with us some of your memories of growing up in the Lower Ninth Ward?
It was a very awesome community. It was a village, because from when I grew up, everybody helped everybody with their kids and made sure everybody stayed in harmony with whatever the older people said. You know, if you did something, the neighbor could chastise you. Yes. And then you went home and got chastised.
Do you remember some of your neighbors?
All of them.
Really?
So the block I'm in is very small, and almost everybody that lived there came back. Now the elders, such as my parents, all my neighbors, all their parents are deceased, okay, or grandparents. So I inherited my home from my mother. It was I had 11 siblings. I'm one of 11, the last of 11, and they signed it over to me.
That's all right.
So.
All right. So what motivated you to come back home? Like, what made you want to come back home to the Lower Nine?
This is my heritage. This is where I grew up. This is where I've been all my life. And there's no place like Louisiana. There's no place like home.
Talk to us about some of the services that you received from the Homeownership Association.
My yard, my back, they was doing the front yards, but my backyard was flooding so bad that you really had to have rain boots on to go back there. They came in, they did a system where they dug underground and put these different pipes so that this water will go to, I'm gonna just call it like a little ravine. So the water will go there, they put flowers in it, made it beautiful. And my yard back there has not flooded since. And that's a plus. And you know that, I don't know if you know, but you know there's a lot of critters we done got since the storm.
Oh, yeah.
And they like water.
They love it.
So they did me a great favor. It actually was a blessing in disguise.
I have to ask you this because of a kind of project that you received. It's a two-part question. So I want to ask you, like, what other services would you like along those lines? Like, what else can you use in your yard?
So it depends on the funding. And so there's another area in the yard by the gazebo that floods. And then on the side of the house to get the rocks with the bricks to kind of bring it up some so it won't flood as much.
Okay.
But the main concern at first was the backyard, but now it's the where the gazebo is and the alley. So I would love for that to be done. And basically they dig, they put these rocks down and these beautiful bricks, and that will add value to my property as well and take away the rest of that water.
Okay. And what's your hope for the Lower Nine? Like, what would you like to see?
I would like to see more of the original people to come back as opposed to their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, because they don't appreciate the Ninth Ward like everybody else did. And most people in the world didn't realize that most African Americans that lived in the Ninth Ward, they owned their homes. And that is an excellent plus.
True.
But
So true.
the older people have died off, and so the younger ones, they don't really care much, you know? So we just need some grandkids and kids just to make a difference, you know? Bring back the community the way it was.
Got it. And that's it.
I wanted to, Angie, excuse me, if you wanted to talk about it. When I met Miss Phipps, I didn't realize her maiden name, if you don't mind me saying.
No, I don't.
Duluth. And I went, I knew her brothers. I didn't know her because she was much younger. But then I found out she's related to, they were related to the Haynes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I knew Vernon, all of them, Vernon, Ronald, all, never knew that the two families were related, grew up with them. And you mentioned that you lived on Falstaff, right?
The older of my siblings lived
Lived
on
on
Falstaff. And by the time my second to the last brother, I want to say maybe like 16 or something, I don't remember the exact age because everybody's older than me because I'm the baby. And once they did that, they moved to Bury. My grandfather built the house from the ground up by himself. And so it has a lot of meaning. It's funny because when Cynthia came, she was like, "Are you cousins to the Lukes?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not their cousins." And she said, "Are you related to them? They're not your cousins?" I said, "No, actually, they're my siblings."
See, she was much younger, I didn't know her.
Because I'm the last.
You're the last, yeah.
The oldest one would have been 22 years older than me, which none of us met because he died at 2 months. And then my next brother was 80. He was 20 years older than me.
Baby.
Yeah, and then my brother finished
School with my brother Steve.
Yeah, at St. David.
They're the same age. So even with that, it took a village to raise me because my parents died when I was younger, very young. And so my siblings raised me.
That's not right.
I just wanted to include that because we've been talking about people knowing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I mean, I knew her brothers, but I didn't know her. And I didn't know all these years that the Haynes were related to the Lukes. And what is it from your mom and Miss Haynes?
Yeah, it's from my mother's side.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All intertwined.
Yes.
And then she told me how they lived on Falstall and then her grandfather built the house.
Wow.
On Hillary Street.
And I'm trying to remember, wait. You know, I always poke around everybody's tree, Miss Cynthia, when we work with people. Because I want to, like, better understand us. I'm trying to remember if it was yours that I looked at when we were doing the research. You were staying in the block with a Harrell? Okay.
If you're facing my house, their house to the right. So it was their great-grandmother that lived there when my parents was living. To the left of my house was the Bushes. He owned the gas station on Falstall and Claiborne, the majority of my life.
So my cousin's related to the Bushes, and both of us are related to the Harrells. My great aunt was Mariah Harrell,
Okay.
and all of her descendants live down here.
Okay, they still do. The ones that still living, like I said, it was like everybody had 11 and 15 kids.
Yeah.
And 12 and 13. So I want to say my mom had 11. She might have had 13. Next door to us, the Bushes, I think they had like 13, but the ones across the street had like 20-something.
Whoa.
And that's what I was telling you, like, because even trying to think of one of my other Mariah Harrell's kids, her name was Celeste Banks, and she lived not too far from there as well. And they were all living on, like, Urquhart and all of the other streets that's down here. It's all intertwined.
And how many did Miss Haynes have?
She about in that 13 range.
Yeah, it was many of them.
So
Yeah.
it's just crazy because all of us, so
All
in
went
my
to St.
family,
David.
out of 11,
All of them.
There's
They
only
went to
3
St.
of us.
David. Everybody went to
there's
St.
only
David.
3 of us left.
Only
And,
3 of you all?
Steve, my brother that's right above me, which is his name is Jerome. He live in Hoover, Alabama, and myself. So out of 11, there's only 3 of us left. One girl, all my sisters have passed, and the majority of my brothers. So it's just the 3 of us now. If you go to the right, where it's the Harrells, I want to say it might be 3 of them still left. To the left, which is the Bushes, they might have 3 or so left as well. Yeah.
Wow.
But there were a lot of it. Because right from us, the Hicks, Johnson, and the Broussards. Did you know the Broussards?
Well, actually, the older siblings knew everybody. But because I was the last, my mom only allowed me to go so far up, Lazard, Viore to Floyd, so far up to Andre, and so much further. I was able to go to Desalong because my sister lived, Dauphine, my sister lived on Dauphine. But and then the only way I can go back of town, what we called it back in the days, was I could go to Falstaff and I could go to Lazard because my grandmother lived on Lazard and my mama's oldest sister lived on Falstaff.
That's where the Haynes lived on.
Absolutely, on the corner.
On the
and
corner.
that's the farthest I could go.
Got it. She had boundaries.
The only, I grew up, I didn't even know that Lisa Cornell lived
She did?
on Viore and something further up, but I was
didn't
never
know she was
allowed.
from down here.
Me either, I was never allowed to go that way. So a lot of people I didn't know because my mom wasn't having it.
Well, there's an answer we've been waiting for all day, Miss Cynthia. Reverend Calhoun wants to know why we all didn't know each other. It's because I couldn't cross over Russia Blade. I could only go to Miss Hattie's house and back. So that's why we didn't know each other. We had to stay within our own little bubble, our little protection
But
bubble.
I didn't know Lisa Cornell was from down here.
Yes, ma'am. And then some of the Harrells lived around the corner on Andre. And my mom had a friend that lived over there next door to them, so I was able to go there. And as far as St. Claus Street, I could go to Pugilis. And I could go to St. David's Church, which I had to go every Sunday. My mom made sure we went to church every Sunday.
That's right,
and they made sure that we paid tithes every Sunday. Even my eldest brother, he gave all his children an envelope every Sunday to put in church.
You better drop that money.
She said you better.
Absolutely. Because one day they said, well, we're going to put all this in there, we're going to keep 10 cents. Brother found out they kept 10 cents. Lights out.
Gracious.
Because that was for God. But they were kids. They didn't know no better. You understand what I'm saying? My mom put my little change, whatever she gave me for church, I went to church. We all went to catechism.